Hello, world history class, and happy Friday. The weekend is almost upon us, which is a wonderful thing. Thank you all for participating in yesterday's class. I look forward to reading all of your poems, which is super exciting, and I'm super excited to do. That poem yesterday that we read is one of my favorite pieces of poetry, and I hope you were able to use it not just as another activity for the day, but as an opportunity to allow you to maybe shift your perspective a little bit on history, which will be a great start for what we're going to be doing over the next few weeks. Speaking of what we're going to be doing over the next few days, we are going to get closer and closer to answering our driving question of who makes history. But before we do that, there are some historical skills that we need to practice and develop. And we're going to practice those skills while also reading the sources and going through the information that will be important for our project. So, with that being said, I'm going to share my screen so we can jump right into it today. On this Friday, we are going to be practicing analyzing a source, okay? We're moving a little bit away from the quest model. I feel like the quest model is still a little unclear and a little too structured and doesn't require enough thinking for the level of students that you all are. You all are amazing students. So we're leveling up here a little bit. We'll take a look. Our daily objective is I can develop the 4 skills of analyzing a source by analyzing a historian's account of Emperor Shi Huangdi. But for our warm-up, we're going to, like we often do on the Friday, revisit the video that we watched on Wednesday, okay? And so we are going to be doing a little warm-up about dealing with pressure. So right now, I want everyone to please get out a piece of paper and a writing utensil, okay? It must be actual paper. It cannot be on a computer, okay? So I know in the past I've allowed for notes in these sort of activities on your computer, maybe your phone or your tablet, but I need you to get out an actual piece of paper and something to write with on that piece of paper. So go ahead and take a few seconds to get that physical thing to write on. It can be A4 paper, it can be notepad paper, whatever you need, any type of paper. And when you get that piece of paper, I want you to tear or cut that piece of paper into thirds. So at the end of the day, you need 3 pieces of paper, okay? Get 3 pieces of paper here. So then as you do that, I want you to write down on each piece of paper one thing that gives you pressure and causes frustration when you try to complete things, okay? This can be something that gives you pressure when you're trying to complete schoolwork, something that gives you pressure when you're trying to complete work, something that gives you pressure while you're trying to compete in sports or play an instrument. I want you to think of, on each piece of paper, I want you to write down one thing. So at the end of this little time, you're going to have 3 things that gives you pressure on this piece of paper, on these pieces of paper. So Teacher Maypo is going to go ahead and pause the video and press play when everyone has their things written down and they are ready. All right, welcome back. Now that you have 3 things that gives you pressure, causes frustration in your life, written onto your pieces of paper, I want you to pick up those pieces of paper in your hand. And now I want you to tear up those pieces of paper. Go crazy, rip all over them, okay? Tear these pieces of paper to shreds, rip them up, throw them in the air, let them fall on you as confetti of evil, pressure, frustrating things. Tear that piece of paper up as much as you would like, okay? Tear it tiny bits if you want to, just tear into it. Go crazy, okay? I want this activity Now that you've torn up those pieces of paper, I hope you had fun doing so. I want this activity to be a reminder to you that nothing can stop you when you're focused, okay? Life comes at you with things that cause pressure, with things that cause frustration. That is inevitable. That will always happen, okay? But when you are in control, when you maintain that focus, right? When you maintain that focus on whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, and you don't worry about those pressures, you don't worry about those stressors, you will succeed. So when those things that cause pressure show up, when those things show up that cause frustration, just visualize this activity. Visualize tearing them up and continue working. Because when you do that, you're unstoppable. You're some pretty amazing students, and I want you to remember that. That should be today in class, not today in CAS. So today in class, we will begin practicing the skills of analysis, okay? And now analysis is a word we hear all the time, but what exactly does it mean and how do we do it, okay? Before we jump into analysis, I want to do a quick review of sources. What are sources? Today, we're going to be discussing how to analyze sources. And so we're just going to use that word a lot in these coming weeks and just in history class, because we get all of our information from sources. But what is a source? Let's do a quick review. We can have a primary source. These are things that come from the era that we are studying. We could have a secondary source, which is something written about the era that we're studying, but in a modern time. Artwork could be considered a source. Archaeological discoveries could be considered a source. A recording of a voice could be considered a source. Movies and TV shows could be considered sources. Diaries, written entries, recordings, any bit of information could be a source, okay? So let's talk about this big word, analysis, okay? Analysis is the ability to demonstrate an understanding of the various elements that contributed to the creation of a historical source, okay? Big word. But basically, analysis means we take a source and we ask, what does this source mean and how do we know what it means, okay? So then after analysis, we can say, this source means this, and we know it means that because of these things, okay? There are 4 skills that we will practice today that will allow us to figure out what a source means and how we know that, okay? Skill number 1 is the skill of finding information. So we need to ask ourselves the question, what is the meaning of the source, okay? What is the source trying to convey? What is the information there? What could this information mean, okay? Basically, what is this document trying to say? Okay, what is the author or creator, what is the information they are trying to have us receive, okay? Skill number 2 is analyzing the origin of a source. So the origin basically means who created the source, okay? What kind of source is it? And from what point of view is the source created from? We're basically trying to analyze the author, what type of source they have left behind for us, and what was their point of view? What's a little bit about the author? Skill number 3 that we're going to be looking at is context, okay? So when was this source created? And more specifically, what historical events happened at or around this time that are important to the creation of this source, okay? Here's an example. Let's say I wrote my parents a letter about how annoying my brother was being, okay? If they were to receive this letter randomly, if they were to receive this letter without context, they would say, hey, Nolan, you're overreacting. Your brother's not annoying. Where is this information coming from? We don't understand. But if I were to tell them the context, hey, mom and dad, here's a letter about why my brother is annoying. He broke my laptop today and stole all the money out of my wallet. That's not a true story. I'm just making that up. Then with that context, they would go, oh yeah, Nolan, your brother is being really annoying. You're absolutely right. So context, what's happening at the same time or around the same time of a source is so important for understanding the source. What's happening at the time? The final skill that we're going to be looking at is motive, discovering motive. For what purpose was the source made? Okay. Who is the intended audience of the source? And how did the intended audience of the source affect its creation? Okay. Why is the creator of the source creating the source? What is it that they want us to think? What is it that they want us to know? And asking these questions are especially context and motive are going to bring us a lot closer to being able to answer the question, what makes history? So why are we learning analysis skills? Besides the fact that it will help us answer our driving question, these skills, like a lot of what I try to teach you in this class, can be applied anywhere in life at any time. When you are given information and you can successfully understand all of the elements of it, you will know what information to value and what information to ignore. So these skills, acquiring these skills, means you will never be taken advantage of in life, and you will make far less mistakes than other people around will. Okay? So that is why I am teaching you these things. For the rest of class today, there's an activity on Edmodo that will help us practice our skills of analysis. Okay? I want you to please complete this activity by the end of class today. And I want you to know that you may work independently or with a group on this activity. Just please send Teacher Maypo a message letting her know what groups you would like to be in. And then we are going to build on these analysis skills next week to help us evaluate sources, to really determine who is saying what in the historical story. World History class, thank you all for being here today. Thank you all for doing your best. Have a great weekend, and I look forward to seeing everyone next time. Bye, everybody.